Hello there, everyone. I am Jaja Lynx, and welcome back to Goingsnake. This is episode 3, and this is the one that I kind of feel like I've been building up towards since the beginning. I've been really looking forward to this episode because this is the episode where I'm finally going to start building the actual city. And it's going to be right down there at the bottom left of the screen is where this is going to take place. This is going to be our urban core downtown. Maybe urban's not exactly the right word. My inspiration for this is really, as I've been saying, sort of small town America, thinking of little Appalachian mountain towns like Blowing Rock or Asheville, although Asheville I wouldn't exactly call a small town, but as I've said before, that's really kind of my inspiration behind this city. So definitely very much thinking of Asheville as I'm building this city. But first, before we get to that, we've got to get to the little peninsula where downtown is going to be, and in order to do that, we're building a bridge. And you saw a second ago, I changed some LUT settings and various other things, so everything got a little darker, and I'm still kind of playing with some different things on the graphics side. I'm not 100% happy with it yet, but I do feel like it was a little bit dark before, or a little bit bright before, and making it a little bit darker definitely made it feel a little bit more realistic, I think. I don't know though. I'm not 100% happy with my graphics, but it's getting there, and it doesn't look bad. So what I'm doing now is I don't have a huge plan for exactly how downtown is going to look quite yet, and I laid out a little bit of a grid just to kind of give me a little bit of a guide. I'm not building on all of this right now, and more than likely a lot of that grid is going to go away because I don't want it to be too terribly gritty. But that being said, this is a downtown, so it's going to be a little bit gritty. I just don't know for how long or how far out that's going to go exactly. So we'll see. That's going to kind of develop a little bit as things move along. But for right now, I'm just going to focus on what I'm calling Main Street. Just your typical sort of small town downtown with all the older brick buildings kind of mashed up alongside each other, and just want to start having a little bit of a commercial core for the city. Nothing too crazy, nothing real high, nothing real modern. I want this to be sort of an older downtown type area. So as you can see, there was kind of an aesthetic I was going for, mostly kind of brick buildings. I grabbed a couple of assets off the workshop and then some vanilla stuff as well. Like that marketplace I put down is vanilla. In fact, I think everything so far is vanilla. That building I put in the middle might not be. I think it is though. But yeah, I actually ended up being really happy with the way that this build came out. I want it to be sort of an eclectic town. I don't want it to be some real country mountain town. I want it to be a little bit more, I guess, progressive, kind of like Asheville is. And you'll kind of see that as we go through. I try to put some cool murals and graffiti and stuff like that to give it a little bit more personality. And I also did try to do some stuff with the roads, like this parking lot road here in the back, just to kind of break things up a little bit. I didn't want it to just be 100% these grids with buildings thrown in the middle. I wanted to do a little bit more, spice things up a little bit, add some green space, add some parking lots, just things to break up the urban sprawl a little bit. And then I also decided to, I think this grid sort of between Main Street and the river is going to be mostly residential, And I think going out the other direction, I might do some more commercial, I might do some warehouses, industrial type stuff. But going out this direction, I want to be mostly residential. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just building out some homes behind Main Street, and that's something that I'm going to carry on with in the future as well, kind of as I'm expanding downtown. But for the time being, I'm just doing this one block. And I was really happy with the way it came out. I wasn't super happy with the last episode and the way that residential came out, and I think a lot of that was the assets that I had. So I went into the workshop and I picked up a couple more residential assets that I felt like fit a little bit better into what I'm wanting to do. So I put some of those in, mixed them with vanilla a little bit, and I was ultimately really happy with the way all of those fit together. And also on the last episode, because it was such a widespread build, I didn't focus as much on the details. This episode is going to be much more detail heavy. Because this is kind of going to be the main part of town that I'm going to really focus on. It's going to get a lot of camera time up close, and I wanted to make sure that it looked good. And I think I accomplished that. I'm happy with the way it all came out. And another big thing with this city as I'm going through it is I want there to be a lot of color. I really like these fall trees, and I want it to be the Appalachian Mountains in the fall. So I tried to incorporate a lot of green and a lot of reds and oranges into the downtown here. And that way I can put these leaves decals on the ground too that I really like, and that gives a lot of really nice color to it, I think. And I spent a lot of time working on this block. I ended up doing 4 blocks with this build, and just for the sake of brevity, I ended up showing a little bit less of the second 2 blocks, and I used a lot more camera time on the first 2 blocks because they're different, and I'm really happy with the way the second 2 blocks came out. But it is all kind of just detailing, and while they are different, it is kind of a similar build in that it's just, plopping commercial into blocks. So I didn't want to bore you too much with those ones. You'll see the second 2 blocks in the cinematics, but for this episode, it's really this block, the block just up the street from it, and then the 2 blocks across the street, you'll see a little bit more of the cinematics. And here I built these. I could have probably just thrown another one of those deeper houses onto that block, but I thought it might be fun to do something a little bit different there. So I found these tiny little 1 block, just vanilla houses, I think, and I threw them in here. And I thought maybe it could be like a townhouse type situation. I jammed them up really close together, spent a little bit of time detailing the backyard, just kind of sprucing things up a little bit. I thought it was a neat little way to handle that block versus just plopping another house in there. So that was pretty much that block completed. And now we're moving on to the next block. And I haven't talked about this a whole lot yet, but I do want this to be a functional city. That's really important to me. I definitely want to focus on the details, and I want it to be a really aesthetically pleasing city. I want it to be beautiful. I want it to look cool. I want to, be proud of it from that perspective, especially because I am coming more from playing this game vanilla. This is my first real heavily modded city, and I definitely want to be able to take advantage of what I can do on PC now that I'm off of console. But at the same time, for me, the thing that really made me fall in love with this game is the city management aspect of things. I love making a functional city, having a city without any of those little people are dying and sick icons. I really want to make sure everything is functioning perfectly. And the fact that it's not right now is really kind of annoying to me and is something I'm going to be working on. But what I'm trying to say is I want this to be a functional city, and I want to make sure that I have the proper health care and the proper death care and the proper law enforcement and fire departments and all that stuff. I want that all to be in here. So as you can see, that white building over there to the right of the screen, top right, that is a custom asset, but it's like a holistic health clinic or something, but it is functional. It's not just, an aesthetic. It is there to help with our healthcare. And then that building that I had put down right beside it, that really small, also white brick building, is actually an undertaker. So that's our death care in the back corner of it, kind of on the same spot. So that's something. And then what I'm working on here, I actually am really happy with the way that this came out. So this is it's 3 warehouses that I mashed together. And then I found this little French restaurant asset. It's just like a storefront kind of in the workshop. And I stuck that on the front of 2 of the warehouses, and then I put one of the warehouses behind it to kind of block off this little courtyard type area. And what I wanted to do with this was, so we've got this restaurant. It's got a little bit of outdoor seating in front, just as part of the asset itself. But I wanted to build out on that a little bit, and I wanted to create this dining area that I kind of vision as being part of the restaurant. So what I did was set off this little area between the buildings, kind of nestled in the warehouses that I am using as the restaurant, and then with the rest of the buildings on the street, and sort of blocked it off with hedges and fences and stuff. And it's going to just be a dining area. And at first I was going to kind of make the whole thing be the dining area, but as I was putting the tables down, I realized that is entirely too much. It's not that big of a restaurant. So instead I made the back end of it just kind of like a landscaping feature. This little block thing was a asset I found on the workshop that I thought was pretty cool, and it ended up fitting in pretty well there. And I go over it with some landscaping to kind of spruce it up a little bit and, make it so it's not this ugly brown blob. It's just a big fancy planter, really. And I do think that the landscaping is definitely one of my weaker points right now. I think that I am a little low on assets. I don't know if I necessarily have the right assets. I feel like I'm just not quite as good at the landscaping as I could be, and it's something I want to keep working on. I watch people like Fluxtrance, who are incredible at landscaping, and I want it to look like what he does, and I'm not quite there yet, but hopefully I'll get there soon. I don't think it's horrible, but I end up just putting a lot of bushes and then throw some trees on top is kind of my go-to. I guess it gets the job done, but anyway. So yeah, that's how I filled in a little bit of that space in this outdoor seating area. And I had originally thrown some hedges in, but I couldn't really get them to fit together the way I wanted to, so I ended up using this net structure retaining wall, old stone wall I think it's called, and it's got the decals on it right now, so there we go. It was a little funky looking for a bit there, but once I got the decals off, it started to look really good. I'm really happy with the way that fence looks. And then I just did a little bit more landscaping, and then we finally get to the tables for our restaurant patrons. And yeah, these are the tables that are accompanied with that French restaurant asset. I think I downloaded them as part of that asset. And I think these are the chairs that it came with also. So it all fit in pretty nicely, I felt like. They're really small. I don't know that I 100% love them, but they get the job done, I guess. I don't know if they're the best outdoor tables in the world, but we're not going to read into that too much. We'll just say if it rains, the employees come grab them and take them inside to safety. So yeah, that was pretty much the commercial half of that block. And now we're just behind it again, doing a little bit more residential. And I really kind of went in with the same approach to this block as I did the other one. That one, I did spend a lot of time putting down ploppable grass and really doing some finer details with the previous block. I didn't show it all on camera. My little brother actually called me while I was building that last block, and I was talking to him while I was detailing it and not paying that much attention to whether I was recording or not, so I detailed all of that off camera, so oops. But I did kind of a similar approach with this side, but it's not quite as cleanly cut. Like, I used a lot of ploppable grass over there, and with this, it's a little bit more run down, I guess. It's not quite as clean. I still think it looks good. I'm happy with the way it came out. It's just a slightly different look. We'll just say the homeowners association is less strict over on this side of the road. And we do have this one bigger house, which I put in, which I think it looks really nice. It's just a vanilla house, I believe. And I gave him a little patio and a grill and stuff in a minute here. I ended up being super happy with it. I really like the way that this downtown area is coming together. And then, of course, you have to put fences. I think that the fences really add a ton to the sort of gritty residential areas like this, really kind of setting the boundaries for each lot. That's an easy thing that I think adds a ton of detail. And this was something else that I was super happy with the way it came out, just throwing in some simple little decorations for this backyard here. I think that adds a lot. And then kind of going back to what I mentioned with wanting to throw in some parking lots and other roads and side streets and alleys and stuff like that to these blocks, just to break up the rigidness of it, I guess. So there were some garages and doors and stuff of the back of those businesses. So I just built a little road behind them for employees to be able to access their places of employment from. Although it's not like there's any shortage of parking on this main street here. There's parallel parking all along here, and as you can see, no one's using it yet. So we have plenty of parking. Not a huge issue. Anyway, so yeah, that was that's the first half, and I am gonna blow through the second half a little bit quicker. So I built these other two blocks, and this is gonna be the rest of our main street for now. I did want there to be parking, so I threw in a parking deck. And it's funny, if you look right now, we have 677 residents, but this parking deck actually is considered a house, and it fits 1,000 families, I believe, is the verbiage. 1,000 households. 1,000 households it fits. So as I finish up this build, watch the population just skyrocket because of this parking deck. And it's still not full yet. I'm recording this well after having finished this build, and it is still filling up. Like, 4/5 of our population lives in that parking deck, which I think is hilarious. And you're gonna see the traffic gets really gnarly over there also, with everyone trying to move in. Anyway, I think that's funny. So this building here on the right is a police station. So as I mentioned, trying to be functional and aesthetically pleasing. That was something I found on the workshop that I thought fit right in with what I'm trying to do here. And then the building next to it is another one I found on the workshop. I think it's some building that's in Japan or something. I don't remember. It's based on a real life building somewhere. I thought it was really cool though, and it had kind of like a old-fashioned but still kind of eclectic and weird vibe to it, which is exactly what I'm trying to go for with this build. So I thought it fit right in with my vision for this city, so I made sure to include that. And I did download a handful of other assets actually that ended up not making it in that I really want to use. So we're definitely going to see Main Street kind of grow over time, and there may even be another episode devoted to Main Street. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's definitely not done yet. I just wanted to kind of get it started with this episode. And a little bit more parking behind there. I kind of picture that as like an office building or something with some commercial underneath it, so I guess mixed use. And I actually really like here's our, so this is everyone trying to move into the parking deck. It's ridiculous. And you kind of saw it for a second there. I got these little modular buildings that I like, that I threw into the bottom of some of the taller ones, just as little storefronts underneath apartments or offices or whatever. So I think those are cool. And then, as you can see here, some new stuff has popped up, a little parking lot and some green space. And there's a gay bar that I found in the workshop that I think is cool. And then this Other Lands coffee shop asset, which I absolutely love. I think that fits in so well. And then the one in the middle is like a fried chicken place. I think it's from the workshop also. But yeah, I took a ton of time. The unicorn is what that gay bar is called, and it's the one over to the left. I spent a lot of time on that one actually, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. I gave it like a patio kind of situation out back, which that's all a custom build there, built onto the back of the bar. I was super happy with the way that block came out. It's actually probably my favorite block, so I feel a little bit bad that I didn't record it and include it in the time lapse, but I'm still trying to figure out how to get my timing right. But yeah, we're kind of starting to wrap up now. All I really did after I finished the block, so it's a little bit of detailing on the streets, trying to kind of make the transition between the and here's a time lapse. But yeah, trying to make the transition between the cobblestone and the not cobblestone a little more seamless. So yeah, here's our before and after. This is something I've been wanting to do, but I messed it up the last few. And yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and here's our cinematics.